Today we will solve JAM 2019 question paper. So the first question is, which one of the following is associated with a divergent plate boundary? And the answer is ridge. Ridge is associated with divergent plate boundary because when two plates diverge, magma comes out from beneath and it forms a ridge structure. And a famous example of ridge is Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Okay. Next question. Shear waves don't travel through and they don't travel through outer core because outer core is liquid and S waves don't travel through liquid and gas. Next question. Fossils of burrows and footprints are known as trace fossils. Okay. Next question. Horst and graben structures are typically formed by. These structures are typically formed by normal faulting and these structures are generally found where there is rifting. Okay. Next question. Dicroidium is known from the and it is known from the Ponchette formation of the Gondwana supergroup. Okay. Next question. Permian is now see. Permian is a period. See, we have two eons. One is Precambrian and the second one is Phanerozoic. Now, in the Phanerozoic eon, we have some eras like Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic era. Now, in Paleozoic era, we have some periods, and they are Cambrian, Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, and Permian. So, Permian is a period. Okay. Next question. Polymorphic minerals have. And the polymorphic minerals have different crystal forms and they are identical in composition. Because from the name also you can see polymorphic. That is, they are different in their crystal forms. They are different in how they look. Next questions. Turbidites are commonly formed in deep marine environment. Next question. Which of the following is fundamental constituents of humic coal? And the answer is the fundamental constituents of humic coal is maceral. Okay. Next question. Which one of the following mineral assemblage characterizes the blue schist species metamorphism of mafic rocks? And the answer is the characteristics mineral assemblage of blue schist species is glaucophene and lawsonite. And these are blue minerals. Okay. Next question. Match the following geomorphic feature in group 1 with their corresponding environment in group 2. So Esker is a glacial feature, Natural levee is a fluvial feature, Chenier Ridge is a beach feature, and Plough Domain is a volcanic feature. Okay. Next question. Match the bivalve in group 1 with their mode of life in group 2. And see. Griffa is unattached and free living, Maya is burrowing, Mytilus is sessile bisect, and Pecten is swimming. Okay. Next question. Which one of the following changes occurred during the evolution of Equidae? And the answer should be lengthening of the skull in front of the orbit. Okay. Now, if you want to know more, then you can study the evolution of horses. Okay. Next question. Which one of the following rocks occur typically in a ductile shear zone? And the answer is mylonite. Next question. Figure 1, 2 and 3 are the outcrop patterns of three inclined beds P, Q and R on a flat region. P is the oldest and R is the youngest among these beds. Now identify the correct option that explains the repetition of beds in these figures. Now look at the figure 1 and figure 3, and if you look at them very carefully, then you can mark there is similarity between 1 and 3. That is, one bed is at the center and the other beds repeat themselves in the opposite direction. Consider the figure 1. At figure 1, at the center we have R bed and to its right we have Q and to its left also we will have Q. Next we will have P in the right and P in the left also. And same is the case for figure 3. And if you mark this type of repetition in any kind of structure, then this structure might be a fold. Okay. That is, it might be a syncline or anticline. Now figure 1 says that R is at the center and which is the youngest bed. So that's why figure 1 is the example of a syncline. Okay. And in figure 3, P is at the center which is the oldest one. That's why the figure 3 is an anticline. Okay. Now in the figure 2 we will have a sequence like PQR, PQR. And if you see this kind of repetition of beds anywhere, then that is a fault. Okay. So our correct answer will be option D, right? Next question. The figure shows stereographic projection of the axial planes and the hinge line on the fold. Which one of the following fold is represented in the figure? Now see, there is no dip of the axial plane and there is no plunge for the hinge line. Okay. That's why it is an upright and non-plunging fold. Next question. Figure X and Y shows profile section of fold traced by two cross beds. Which one of the following is the correct interpretation? And here the answer should be antiformal syncline and synformal anticline. Okay. Next question. On a geological map of the flat area, the plunge direction of the antiformal direction is, and the plunge direction should be towards the fold closure, right? Next question. Match the Precambrian litho units in group 1 with their corresponding craters in group 2. See, Kolan group is of Singhbum craton, Debari group is of Aravali craton, Bababodan group is of Dharwar craton, and Sukma group is of Bastar craton, right? Next question. The stereographic projection of given below represents a, and this stereographic projection represents a trigonal dipyramidal structure. Next question. Which of the following mineral exhibit the optic interference figure given below? And this interference figure is shown by quartz. Next question. Match the minerals in group 1 with their corresponding characteristics property in group 2. So labradorite shows play of color, actinolite is acicular habit, chlorite shows 4 set of cleavage, and barite is of high specific gravity. Okay. Next question. Match the metamorphic rocks in group 1 with their corresponding parent rock in group 2. Amphibolite is formed from basalt, condylite is formed from shale, calc gneiss might have formed from marl, and quartzite is formed from sandstone. Okay. Next question. Match the fuels in group 1 with their corresponding areas of occurrence in group 2. So we get uranium in Jaduguda, Jharkhand. We get lignite in Bastan, that is of Gujarat. We get bituminous coal in Singrauli, Madhya Pradesh, and we get petroleum in Digboi, that is of Assam. Next question. Match the features in group 1 with their characteristics rock or rock shoot in group 2. Now in continental arc we will get andesite. In mid-oceanic ridge we will get olivintholite. In collision zones we will get ophiolite, and in continental drift we will get alkaline rocks. Okay. Next question. Which one of the following statements are correct? In a planar tabular cross bedding, the upper and the lower bounding surface are parallel and planar. This is correct. In a planar tabular cross bedding, the upper and lower bounding surface are planar but not parallel. This is not correct because they are planar and parallel. Okay. Next, in a trough cross bedding, the upper and the lower bounding surface are curved. That is correct because it is not planar cross bedding, it is trough cross bedding. So the upper and the lower bounding surface are curved. Okay. Now in a trough cross bedding, the upper bounding surface is planar and the lower bounding surface is curved. That is also correct. Okay. Next question. Match the sedimentary structure in group 1 with their corresponding process in group 2. So stromatolites are formed from biostratification, fluid casts are formed by erosion, mud cracks are formed by desiccation, and descent pillar structure is formed by liquefaction. Okay. Next question. An ore mineral has the following physical properties. It is of metallic luster, it shows steel grey color, and it has 2 set of octahedral cleavage, high specific gravity, and 5. It makes mark on paper. And identify the ore mineral. Now from the all of these physical properties, the ore mineral must be galena only. Okay. Because it shows metallic luster, it has high specific gravity, and it shows 2 sets of octahedral cleavage. Okay. And it makes mark on the paper as well. Okay. Next question. Which one of the following are the characteristics of a typical porphyry copper deposit? And the answer is, it is associated with granitic rocks, correct? Low grade and high tonnage of ore, right? Presence of alteration zones, right? And the occurrence in convergent tectonic setting. So all these options are correct. Next question. Match the metal deposits in group 1 with their corresponding process in group 2. So aluminum is formed from residual concentration, iron is formed from chemical sedimentation, tungsten is formed from contact metasomatism, and thorium is formed from mechanical concentration. Okay. Next question. Which of the following statement is correct for a plot of 87 by 86 strontium versus 87 rubidium divided by 86 strontium for a rock which has evolved in a closed system? And the answer should be, the slope of the line of the evolution for the minerals in the rock are all equal and negative. And option D, that is, the slope of the isochrone is opposite in the direction of the slope of the lines of evolution for the mineral in the rock. Next question. Which of the following statement is correct with reference to subsurface water? The first option, the purged water table occurs below the water. This is not correct because the purged water table occurs above the water table. Next, the Bhados water occurs in the zone of aeration, correct? For significant groundwater, the medium must be highly permeable, right? And for intersection of the water table with the land surface can result in the formation of a spring. That is also correct. Next question. Which of the following geomorphic feature indicate the presence of a fault? Now, triangular facets indicate the presence of a fault, and the short topographic jump also indicate that there is a fault in it. Next question: which of the following gastropods have siphonal canal? And the options in the given question have all of them have siphonal canal in them. Next question: which of the following are the modes of preservation of fossil? Small organisms get trapped on viscous resins secreted by trees. That is correct. Leaves preserved on thin films of carbon. Correct. Negative impression of hard parts of organisms. That's also correct. Now the only option that is not correct is the mineral growths that branch like forms. Now in this case there cannot be any preservation of fossil in this case. Okay. Next question. Select the pairs that are correctly matched. The Lathi formation is of Jurassic wood fossils, that is correct. And the Panchet formation is of Triassic reptile fossils, that's correct. Next question. Choose the reactions indicating metamorphism of pellets at temperature greater than 600 degrees Celsius and pressure less than 8 kW. Now in this given temperature and pressure condition, only two of these reactions can prevail. That is, Muscovite plus quartz gives rise to sillimanite plus feldspar plus H2O, and Muscovite plus biotite plus quartz plus H2O gives rise to sillimanite plus melt. Because the given temperature and pressure condition indicate sillimanite zone, okay? And in sillimanite zone, these reactions are obvious. Now, if you want to know more about the zone and phases of metamorphism, we have already made a video on that. Go and check it out. Next question. Select the correct statement. Laccoliths are convex upward, whereas lopoliths are convex downward bodies. This is correct. Laccoliths can form from any type of magma, whereas lopoliths form from only basaltic magma. Now that's also correct. And the last option, laccoliths are smaller in dimension than lopoliths. Now that's the correct answer. So our answer will be option A, B and D. Next question. Select the correct statements. Phenocrysts are found in igneous rock, whereas porphyroblasts are found in metamorphic rock. Correct. Phenocrysts are indicators of crystallization history, whereas porphyroblasts indicate metamorphic history. That is also correct. Next question. Based on the given schematic ternary phase diagram, choose the correct statement. And the answers are: the diopside albite join acts as the thermal barrier in the system, and point 2 and 3 are the ternary eutectics, and melt of composition X will give rise to a rock containing nepheline and albite. And with that, we have completed all our MSQ questions. Now let's discuss the numerical questions. The first question is: the intensity of an earthquake of magnitude 8 on the Richter scale is greater than the intensity of earthquake of magnitude 5 on the same scale by dash times. Now see, there are two earthquakes. One is of magnitude 8 and the second one is of magnitude 5 on Richter scale. Now we are asked that what is the difference in the intensity of the two earthquakes. Okay. Now see, for each increase in earthquake scale, we get 10 times more intensity of earthquake, and here the difference is 3. So the earthquake of magnitude 8 is 10 to the power 3 times, that is 1000 times greater than the intensity of earthquake of magnitude 5. Okay. Next question. Assume the geothermal gradient equal to 25 degrees Celsius per kilometer in the crust. Then the density of the crustal rocks are 3000 kg per meter cube, and the acceleration due to gravity is 10 meter per second square. Now based on these values, lithostatic pressure at point where temperature is 400 degrees Celsius will be dash megapascal. Now see, the temperature at depth is given 400 degrees Celsius and the geothermal gradient is given 25 degrees Celsius per kilometer. So the total depth would be 400 divided by 25, that is 16 km. Now the formula pressure is P equal to rho gh, that is density into acceleration due to gravity and depth. And if you put the values in the formula, then you will get the pressure is 480 megapascal, because 1 megapascal equal to 10 to the power 6 pascal. Okay. Next question. The radii of A2 plus and B minus ions are 1.12 angstrom and 1.31 angstrom respectively. The coordination number of A plus 2 in mineral AB2 is. Now see, coordination number is calculated on the basis of the radius ratio of these two atoms. So here we have to first take the ratio of radius of cation divided by radius of anion, and then we have to compare the radius ratio values with the corresponding coordination number. So here if you put the values, you will get the radius ratio as 0.85, which lies in the range of 0.732 to 1, and hence its coordination number is 8. Okay. Next question. In a sedimentary rock, the diameter of two grains A and B are 1.5 and 3.5 respectively. The difference in the diameters between A and B in millimeter rounded off to 2 decimal place is. Now see, in a sedimentary rock, we know that phi equal to minus log diameter base 2. So D equal to 2 to the power minus 5. And here we have phi equal to 1 and phi equal to 3. So the difference of diameter is D1 minus D2, that is 2 to the power minus 1 minus 2 to the power minus 3. That is 1 by 2 minus 1 by 8, that is 3 by 8. And if you calculate, the value comes out to be 0.38 approximately. Okay. Next question. A light ray passes from mineral A to mineral B having refractive index of 1.75 and 1.43 respectively. The limiting value of angle of incidence above which the light ray undergoes total internal reflection is dash degree. Now see in this figure, we have two mediums, medium A and medium B, and light passes from medium A to medium B. So the refractive index formula is sin I by sin R, that is sin of incidence divided by sin of reflection. Okay, angle of refraction is 90 degree, so sin 90 equal to 1, mu equal to sin theta divided by 1. Okay, and from our previous knowledge we know that mu AB equal to mu B divided by mu A. That implies sin of critical angle, that is sin theta C, equal to mu B by mu A, and if you calculate, the value of critical angle comes out to be 54.7 degree. Okay. Next question. The throw and heave of a bed offset by a normal fault are 100 meter and 200 meter respectively. The deep of the fault plane is dash degree. Now here in this figure we have shown a normal fault. You can see the horizontal component is called heave and the vertical component is called throw, and theta is the deep angle. Okay. Now the tan of deep angle equal to throw divided by heave, that equal to 1 by 2. So the deep angle is tan inverse 1 by 2, that is 26.56 degree. Now the next question is the difference between SI is to O ratios of K feldspar and olivine is. Now see, K feldspar is a tectosilicate, so SI is to O is 1 by 2, and similarly olivine is a nesosilicate, so SI is to O is 1 by 4. Now the difference is 1 by 2 minus 1 by 4, 1 by 4, that is 0.25. Okay. Next question. If a crystal contains 5 faces and 8 edges, then the number of vertices in the crystal is. Now we have the Euler's formula, that is B plus F equal to 2 plus C, where B is the number of vertices, F is the number of faces, E is the number of edges, and if you put the values of all of these, then you will get the number of vertices to be 5. Now in the next question, we will use a formula, that is the formula of Gibbs free energy, that is del G naught equal to minus RT ln K, which is equal to minus 2.303 RT log K. Okay. Now in this formula you have to put all the values that is given below, minus 14.45. Next question. A normal fault displaces a sandstone bed such that the deep slip and the strike slip components are 3 meter and 4 meter respectively. Then the net slip of the displacement is dash meters. Now see in the figure you can clearly see the deep slip, the strike slip and the net slip value. The deep slip is 3 and the strike slip is 4, and by using Pythagoras theorem you can calculate the net slip as 5 meters. Okay. Next question. In the given diagram, a 6 km height plateau is supported by a crustal root of thickness r. The system is in isostatic equilibrium as per Harry's hypothesis of isostasy, and the density of the crust and mantle are 2800 km per meter cube and 3100 kg per meter cube respectively. Assuming the acceleration due to gravity to be same throughout the region, the thickness of the root is. Now see, we have marked a point A and a point B on the figure. Point A is on the surface of the earth, whereas the point B is on the plateau. Now see, for point A, we have the pressure at the level of compensation is the pressure that is at the 10 km, and rest we have to add the pressure for the root part, which is in the mantle part in the A point. Okay. So pressure at level of compensation for A will be 2800 into G into 100, because 2800 is the cross density for 10 kilometers, and next plus 3100 into G into R, because the R is the depth and 3100 is the mantle density. Okay. And similarly, for point B, if you will see, then the plateau has an anti-root 2, and for this point, we will calculate only the cross density. Because as you can see, the total body is made up of only one type of particle, and that's why the density is same throughout. So the pressure at level of compensation for point B will be 2800 into G into 16. 16 because the 10 kilometer of the crust and 6 kilometer above the crust, plus 2800 into G into R. And here 2800 is the crust density, G is the acceleration due to gravity, and R is the root. That is the part that is inside the mantle. And if we will equate these two conditions, then we will get that the length of the route is 56 kilometers. Okay. Now the one more question that comes is that why should we equate both these pressures? Because according to Airy's hypothesis, at the depth of compensation, everything that is present on the earth possesses equal pressure, right? That's why the pressure exerted by point A will be same as the pressure exerted by point B. Okay, I hope it is clear. Next question. A 50 kg granite boulder gets dislodged from a cliff of height 20 meter and undergoes an absolute vertical freefall. If the acceleration due to gravity is 10 meter per second square, then the boulder will hit the ground with a velocity of dash meter per second square. Here we will use the formula v square equal to u square plus 2gh. Now because the object was initially at rest, so the value of u is 0 and our equation becomes p square equal to 2gh. Now by putting the values of g and h, we will get the value of final velocity is 20 km per second. Okay. Next question. The mass and volume of a fully dried soil sample are 500 gram and 250 centimeter cube respectively. The average density of the particles in the soil sample are 2.5 gram per cm cube. Then the void ratio of the soil sample is dash percentage. Now here we have given the mass of dried sample is 500 gram and the volume is 250 cm cube. That's why the density of the dry mass, that is the density of the dried soil sample, is mass by volume, that is 500 divided by 250, that is 2 gram per cm cube. But it is given the average density of the particles in the soil sample are 2.5. So alpha will be rho m, the density of the particles in the soil sample, minus rho d, that is the density of fully dried soil sample, divided by rho m. And if you put the values, we will get alpha equal to 0.2. Total volume minus volume of void will give you the volume of solid. Okay. So now void ratio, that is E equal to volume of void divided by total volume minus volume of solid. Now if we divide volume to each of the terms here, then we will get E equal to alpha divided by 1 minus alpha. And if you put the values of alpha, then we will get the void ratio as 25%. Okay. Next question. The geological map shows the contact between sandstone and limestone. The two dotted curves are the contours of 400 and 500 meters respectively, and the difference between the deep angles of the contact surface along AB and AC directions is dash degree. Now see, tangent of deep equal to contour interval divided by horizontal distance. Now deep equal to tan inverse x by y, right? Now for case 1, that is for deep 1, we will have tan inverse x by y1, and for deep 2 we will have tan inverse x by y2. So the deep difference equal to tan inverse x by y1 minus tan inverse x by y2. And if you put the values, then you will get the value of deep as 8.13 degree. Next question. A tabular ore body of 9 square kilometer area and an average thickness of 9 meter has a density of 3000 kg per meter cube. Then the average tonnage of the ore body is, now see here, the volume equal to 9 km square into 9 meter. Now 1 kilometer equal to 10 to the power 3 meters. So 1 square kilometer equal to 10 to the power 3 whole square meter. So the total volume you will calculate is 8.1 into 10 to the power 7 meter cube. Now the mass is density into volume, that is 8.1 into 10 to the power 7 whole into 3000, that is 243 million tons. Okay. Next question. Assume that the orbit of the earth is a circle of radius 150 into 106 kilometer. Then the gravitational constant and the earth's orbital velocity are given 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 and 30 into 10 to the power 3 meters per second respectively. Then the calculated mass of the sun is dash into 10 to the power 30 kg. Now here we know that F equal to gmm divided by r square, and the formulas of centripetal force is F equal to mv square by r. That means G capital M small m by r square equal to small m v square by r. And if you will calculate, the value of v becomes root over of G capital M divided by r. Now if you put all the values, then you will get the mass of the sun is 2.01 into 10 to the power 30 kgs. Okay. Next question. The difference between mole fraction of anorthite and albite in a feldspar represented by x in the given triangular diagram is. Now see, at x, albite equal to 20% and anorthite equal to 40%. So the difference is 20%, that is 20 by 100, that is 0.2. Okay. Next question. Two vertical wells penetrating a confined aquifer are 200 meters apart, and the water surface elevations in these wells are 35 meter and 40 meter above a common reference datum. Now the discharge per unit area through the aquifer is 0.05 meter per day. Using Darcy law, the coefficient of permeability is dash meter per day. Now we know that Q equal to A whole into K del H by L, and here we have given L equal to 200 and del H equal to 40 minus 35, that is 5 meters. So Q by A equal to 0.05 meter per day. Now Q by A equal to K into 5 by 200, because Q by A equal to K del H by L, and del H equal to 5 and L equal to 200. Okay. And if you will calculate, the value of K comes out to be 2 meter per day. Okay. Next question. The given PET time diagram shows the relative stability ranges of andalusite, ilmenite and kyanite. Then the difference in degree of freedom at point X and Y is. Now see, at Y, P plus F equal to C plus 2, and there is 3 phases, so P equal to 3, and because it is a Al2SiO5 polymorphic diagram, so the component is 1. Okay. And if we put the values of this P and C in the equation, then you will get the value of degree of freedom is 0. And similarly at X, we have only one phase, that is kyanite, and the component here is also 1. And if you put these values in the equation, then you will get that the degree of freedom is 2. Okay. Next question. The core and rim composition of garnet are this and this respectively, and the difference in mole fraction of spessartine between the core and the rim is. Now see, the formula of spessartine is Mn3Al2SiO4 whole thrice. So 3 manganese are required to form 1 mole of spessartine. So 1 mole of Mn will form 1 by 3 mole of spessartine. Okay. And similarly, if you will calculate, for 1.35 moles, for 1.35 manganese, it will produce 0.45 mole of spessartine, and for 0.75 manganese, it will produce 0.25 mole of spessartine. Okay. Now the difference between them is 0.45 minus 0.25, that is equal to 0.2.